Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. And for once, Downsy, I get to wear this. I'm here as a League One representative as well as co-host of the show. How are you, mate? You all right?
Not bad. No, I've gone for the neutralist look. No, I haven't got my town shirt on. But
I thought about doing that and then thought, no, sod it. This is a rare opportunity.
I thought I'd be professional but you've clearly gone for the unprofessional look. It's fine, mate. It's no problem. Allegiance is to your colours.
Exactly. We are doing our League One preview show. And, I mean, it's been a while for you, Steve, and for Huddersfield Town. Are you prepared to be educated?
12 years, mate. 12 years it's been since a League One fixture was played at John Smith Stadium. And it was called the Gow Farm. So, yeah, looking forward to the League One campaign, seeing some old friends, some new friends. We're going to speak to some absolutely fantastic people on the podcast tonight who cover the length and breadth of the country. So, I'm looking forward to getting stuck into Birmingham and Charlton particularly, just because we're a bigger club than Charlton. But I'm sure Sue will have a word to say about that. And bless Josh, who will come on to talk about Northampton Town, and hopefully they can, stay up.
Let's tone down the patronising already. Otherwise, it's going to be a very, very long show. As mentioned, without further ado, we are going to be joined by various guests. But one at a time, we'll bring them in. We'll start. I was trying to work this out alphabetically, but I'm just going to go with the order that they actually joined the stream, to be honest. We are going to start with Sue Gallop. And I mean, you've heard his words already about the bigger club. Now, I'll be honest, this is a running joke on the West Yorkshire Football Show in the group chat because...
No, it's not a joke.
It is for you, but we all feel in our group chat that Charlton are a bigger club than Huddersfield Town, but that's because of nostalgia and the fact that we grew out. Most of us are of an age where it was, Sean Bartlett and Kevin Lisby up front, so we remember the Premier League days.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because I think for a period of time, as an old school fan, when we didn't have a ground and all of that, and you think back, obviously, we've had some games with Huddersfield prior to that, but I think more recent times it's a weird one because a lot of football club fans in the lower leagues still see us as one of those types of clubs. But I think some of our fan base does, in the younger generation who have started coming when we were in the Prem. But us oldies, we're still a relatively small club in South London compared to some of our neighbours, which I hate saying, but yeah, and I guess with Huddersfield's recent history, I'd say they're probably a bigger club than us.
No, don't you are not dispelling this.
Moment.
I am not allowing you to dispel this, Sue. We're not having this.
Sue's my favourite guest already. Absolute tremendous, Sue.
Even though you just slated Charlton.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see if we can change
I like Charlton as a club. Nigel Atkins, Hasselbank and all that. Wonderful, wonderful football club.
Naming the worst names to link with us.
Let's move swiftly on by bringing Bolton into the mix. And Ryan Latham joins us from Trotters Chatter, possibly one of the hardest names to say quickly of a podcast I've ever heard in my life. How are you doing, Ryan?
I'm not bad. Very happy to be back at it again. Bring on Saturday.
I mean, that sums it up perfectly well. Bring on Saturday in the start of the season, and leads me nicely to bring in Steve Nussbaum from Leyton Orient, because, of course, the opposition. How are we, Steve? Thanks for joining us.
Always good to be here. Thanks for having me, chaps. Yeah, all good. Looking forward to Saturday. Maybe not as much as Ryan, but I'm excited nonetheless.
Great face.
One band that I'm sure will be very much looking forward to League One is Nathan Salt, a Wrexham fan. The money has got you this far, Nathan. I'm sorry. I'll take it back. Phil Parkinson actually has done a really good job.
He has. Well, you take that right back now, the money, because now we're going to play that. We're going to pretend that we're quite poor now compared to Birmingham and all these other big spenders, Huddersfield and all these. These guys ruining football with all the money. So we're just back to little old Wrexham now, and it's all good stuff.
You've taken the words right out of my mouth as I bring in Sam Sheffy from the Blue.
Here comes the money.
Yeah, indeed. Thanks for coming on once again, to be fair, because I know Steve had you on over the course of last season when it was a discussion that you had about who's staying up, and turns out neither of you.
Yeah, exactly. We had a 6-pointer then, and none of us won the game, and we both got relegated. So that's what happened. We both find ourselves now in League One. Lots of new teams to face, and unfamiliar faces, and yeah, looking forward to it.
I'm excited for a 1-1 draw, Sam, later in the season where we can celebrate it together, mate.
Well, we won the War of Alfie May because we all know what happened with that.
Oh, mate,
Oh.
that's a sore point.
I feel like it's a sore point for more than one club here, to be honest.
Yeah, we'll get back onto that later, but yeah, carry on, Chris.
We will indeed. Finally, for now at least, I'm going to like to say Josh Kirk, who is, to be fair, is a good mate of yours, Steve, a Northampton Town fan, and possibly the least optimistic of all of us there on the podcast tonight. Thanks for joining us, Josh. How are you?
Yeah, good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I think there is not that much optimism compared to some of the other clubs here with us this season, but you know we're there, so we'll see what we can do this year.
I love how we've got the big spenders of Birmingham and the paupers of Northampton next to each other on the screen. It's quite apt. That tells you the story of League One, doesn't it? Really.
Well, that is the beauty of League One. It is a proper mix of, you've got lucky little underdogs like, again, and this is meant with no disrespect, as disrespectful as that sounds, to Crawley, who have somehow managed to lose an entire promotion winning squad. And then you have got your bigger sides like your Birmingham Cities and your Charltons and your Boltons.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. True, Chris. Well done.
Right, let's just start then. We're going to go around one at a time. We are hoping as well, in due course, to be joined by a Rotherham United fan and by a Reading fan as well. So when they do get on, we will bring them in as well. But for now, I'm going to go around one at a time with each of you. Just a little bit of a flavour, really, for how last season was, how pre-season has gone, and your kind of underlying feelings going into the season. So we'll start, Sue, with yourself, if that's okay. For Charlton, obviously, I mean, we talked, and you said earlier before we came on air that last season was pretty terrible.
Yeah, we had, well, I think we started off okay, and then it was just downhill for the rest of the time. And I think, unfortunately, like the squad, when Nathan came in, the squad that he inherited was so low in confidence. He took a while. I mean, I think we lost one game after he took over, and we sort of pretty much drew the rest of the games for the rest of the season. But it was pretty close at one point. We really felt genuinely that we might have gone down. But I think Nathan coming in, as everyone knows how he is as a manager in terms of his passion and his drive and how focused he is. I think he just gave some of those players a bit of a boost that just got us through and kept us up. So yeah, it wasn't fun being a Charlton fan last season.
You mentioned the form there that, you know, since he took over, have we actually managed to find another club in the UK that Nathan Jones can manage successfully besides Luton Town?
I think I know people have sort of made a bit of a joke about it, what happened at Southampton and Stoke, but I think the general population of football fans don't always get so educated in what happens behind the scenes, and when you inherit a squad of, like, for example, Southampton was just all egos, and for a manager coming in from little old Luton, the players didn't have the level of respect that they should have had for him. And I think when you try and instill that, it can tend to go the other way, where they're just all like, they're like little boys in that respect, aren't they? It's like all chuck their dummy out of the pram and like, right, we don't like you. So I think him coming to us, for me, it felt like a natural fit because he'd already been with us in his earlier stages of his coaching career, because he won the league with our under-21s development squad. In his first, well, he only did one season with us, and he did that in one season. So I think when his name was getting mentioned, I think a lot of the Charlton fan base were really excited about him coming back to us. And I think the view on the whole seems to be really positive. I think a lot of the fans that we've sort of spoken to, even at the end of last season when everyone was a bit down because we hadn't been that great, we're still very much of the mind that we feel that we can get into the playoffs at least, with someone like Nathan in charge.
How has pre-season been for you?
It's been a bit of a weird one because I think as well with the way Nathan works, he doesn't like too much being out in the public. So he did some behind closed doors games, which I think I've never known it at Charlton. Maybe the 18s or the 21s might have the odd behind closed doors ones, but I've never known the first team to do that pre-season. They went away for part of it. It sounded like they had quite a good. I think when you go away as a squad, it's quite good for bonding and building, especially when you've got new players coming in. We did have a bit of a clear out as well, so the results have been a bit mixed. So, like our last game on Saturday, we beat Portsmouth 2-0, which is a decent result. And I think that sort of gives you a little bit of a boost going into the game against Wigan on Saturday. But yeah, I think I never get too excited about pre-season, just in terms of like it's about that fitness and just when I say the old like saying in it minutes in the tank and all that, I think that is the most important bit of it is the team bonding and it's getting match fit. Because again, we are a team. Historically, in the last sort of 4 or 5 seasons, we've struggled really badly with injuries. So I think just having a positive pre-season where I think the only player that got injured was Godden at Wimbledon, and that was a head injury. So that was why he missed Saturday. So we haven't got any like big. We've got Miles Leaburn coming back from like pretty much being out most of last season. So it's looking pretty positive at the moment.
For next season, then you kind of touched on it there. Playoffs is that the burning ambition amongst the Charlton Athletic fan base?
I mean, obviously, every fan goes into every new season and hopes they get top 2.
Wow,
because as you know from our history of playoffs, we've always done all right in the playoffs, but it is. Oh my God. Well, for any of you that have been through it is a killer. Like emotionally, the most draining experience you'll ever go through. Poor Ryan, I'm sorry about this.
It leads nicely onto me, this, doesn't it?
Even winning the playoff final, the times we have, it is still the most draining experience of my life. So I'd quite happily settle for an automatic, but I think, realistically, I think most of the fan base like at least playoffs.
That's fair enough. To be fair, as a Lingham fan, as a child, I suffered 5 consecutive seasons finishing in the playoffs and not getting up. So yeah, it really can hurt. I'm just going to take the opportunity to bring in Johnny Hunt, who is a Reading FC fan. Johnny, thanks for joining us.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, very well. Thank you for taking the time this evening. We're just going to continue going around each person individually, just asking a little bit about their season. So I'm just going to go to Ryan off the topic of playoffs and Bolton. Ryan, come on, tell us a little bit about last season, if you can do it, holding back the tears.
Oh, honestly. Obviously, we spent all of last season within the top 4, but the pressure put on us to get out of the league made it so unenjoyable. Like, honestly, I enjoyed our previous season in League One, which was mid-table obscurity, because we actually enjoyed how we played. We just became like this mechanical, like, football team with joyless football, and it was very draining. And obviously getting into the playoffs and getting to the final, just the hopes there. And when you, greatest respect to Oxford, you expect to turn over Oxford after the season we had, and it only takes that one game. We completely bottled it, and yeah, the rest is history. I almost expected Mr. Everett to sort of throw in the towel. I didn't know whether he had enough to pick himself up again and start again, but he has. And yeah, we go again and try and do it with a smile on my face this time.
How has the pre-season been then? As you say, there was a little bit of uncertainties after that playoff defeat about Ian Everett and whether he would move on. As you say, he's stayed on. What's the squad looking like in terms of what he's built? How have results gone? And what are your hopes for the season? I mean, just to be happy seems like a good one to start with and enjoy it.
Yeah, I feel nice and refreshed after the break, and Everett looks the
with
same.
The Euros, wow.
Well, it took my eye off it for a bit, but yeah, Everett looks the same. I mean, he's got a smile on his face. He's lost a lot of weight, which he seems to put on over the season. I don't know if it was stress eating or what, but yeah, we're slowly bringing in some more players, players from abroad. We've got Scott Arfield in, a bit of experience. And we're trying out a new system as well. So the system which we almost sort of got found out with last season, we're bringing in a much needed plan B, which we've had glimpses at. Yeah, we played Fiorentina in a friendly as well and played really well against them. Took them to a draw. So yeah, it's been pretty positive. Finished really well. 3-0 win at Port Vale. I can't really complain. We do need a few more bodies before Saturday. I believe we've got one coming through the door tomorrow. Breaking news. But other than that, yeah, we'll go to Leyton Orient, not hopefully treating them with respect, and hopefully come out with the first 3 points.
Well, Steve, Leyton Orient, we'll come to you off the back of that as the other side in Saturday's game. Obviously, last season for you. I mean, from an outside perspective, looked a pretty good one, really.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was our first season back in League One after about 8 or 9 years, and it was an unremarkable and unspectacular 11th place finish. We had some really bad injuries, some really horrific players on the sideline. But other than that, 11th was fine. We made a bit of a push for the playoffs, and you know, we beat Bolton, we beat Charlton, we beat Northampton, we beat a lot of the bigger teams here, but just didn't have enough depth in the squad to get through it in the end. Kind of got found out a little bit towards the end with injuries. But yeah, 11th place was decent, good season. We've managed to retain most of the squad. We've had a few people who've gone, unfortunately. But other than that, the replacements that have come in look decent. I think it's going to be a strange season for the O's. I think we've always tried to build, and the board always tried to build on the previous season. But I've got to be honest, I'd bite your hand off for 11th place again in League One this season because it's going to be so competitive. But as we go into it, I think we're all optimistic. I think there'll be 1 or 2 teams you don't expect to be up there might sneak up there, and you never know who they're quite going to be. So wouldn't surprise me if Orient managed to kind of hover around there, but then it also wouldn't surprise me to see Orient hovering around 18th or 19th place with about 3 games left. So, yeah, good season last season. Hopefully can maintain it this season under Richie Williams' guidance. And to be fair, Richie's done a great job in the 2 and a bit years that he's been at the club. And I think as long as we can keep Richie, which I think we will do, none of the bigger clubs have come after him, which has surprised me because I think he's quite a good option for a League One club. And your Barnsleys and where the vacancies have been, they haven't really kind of taken any notice of him, which is something that I'm quite thankful for. So as long as we keep Richie and keep building, I think we'll be all right this season after a good season last season.
Yeah, I think you're right about the fact there's always somebody, because there's always 1 or 2 of the bigger sides that actually underachieve somewhat. There's always a couple of the sides that you expect to be lower down that actually have really good seasons. One side that are newly promoted and, well, as far as the bookies are concerned, 5th favourites to win the league, Nathan. Wrexham. No longer the richest of rich boys in League One football, but still pretty bloody wealthy.
Yeah, I mean, the bookies are just tapping into a lot of people that maybe aren't familiar with League One and know Wrexham and know Ryan Reynolds, and they're going to quite happily take your money.
But they're basically going to rinse the entire American audience, aren't they? This is what they're going for. Like, how much can William Hill, Ladbrokes, all these bookies make out of the Americans that have seen the documentary?
I love going over. I just went over there for pre-season, and they're so optimistic that they make all of us look so miserable about our teams because they always just think they're going to win every single game. And like, you've lost 5-0, but you'll win next week. Doesn't really matter. And yeah, I mean, this season for us, there might be sort of like what Ryan was saying. It might actually be slightly more enjoyable because we're not expected to win the league as much as William Hill and all these others want to say we are. Birmingham are going to have all that pressure. Yeah, Rotherham, Charlton, I've got all these teams. Huddersfield high up, Bolton again, it'd be another one. So last year was kind of such a grind for us because we were expected to go up again, and we did, which was good, behind Stockport. But it was such a grind, whereas every draw felt like a loss, even though there was a decent buffer. And the season before that, we had that that epic duel with Notts County where it was really hard to enjoy for the final 4 or 5 months because it was just we were more bothered about their results than we were our own. Weirdly, like you were more obsessed with what they were doing than what we were doing. Thankfully, not Phil Parkinson and the players, but yeah, I mean, look, we start our season with Wickham, who have got a billionaire owning them, and they don't seem to have spent much money. But we've got Wickham, Bolton, Reading, and Peterborough was our first 4 games. So that'll give us a good idea of how ready we are for League One, I think.
That is very much a bit of a baptism of fire for League One football, isn't it? With that fixture computer, similarly actually to Orient's fixtures as well at the start of the season. But I mean, pre-season, how's it gone? Obviously, with the trip to America and the tour to America, obviously, is that more publicity, or actually, do you think Phil Parkinson will have got a lot out of it in terms of the squad building, the experience, the team bonding, and that sort of thing? Somewhere a bit different.
Yeah, I think he's had a lot more say on it this time. He wasn't. I mean, he made it known sort of by not actually saying anything publicly. He made it known to enough people that he wasn't that happy with the tour the first time round. No player got 90 minutes. It was really disjointed. They were flying East Coast to West Coast and back. This time it was a lot more focused. Some of the best training facilities in the world at UCLA. Great for the lads as well, the ones that we've caught up with saying how great it was, the team bonding, like Sue was saying about team bonding in pre-season. I mean, they're getting to pretend they're megastars on a red carpet near Rodeo Drive. I mean, that's not going to happen to a lot of League One footballers, with respect. So, it's been good. And look, we drew with Bournemouth. Probably should have beaten them. Drew with Chelsea. I know that still had Sterling in there. That still had Reece James. We more than held our own in Maresca's first game. Then we beat the Vancouver Whitecaps, albeit not a full tilt. And then we beat Fleetwood at the weekend. So unbeaten pre-season. And I think the main thing is we look a lot more defensively solid. Obviously, we started League One with a 5-3 defeat to MK Dons, and then we shipped 5 against Swindon, and Ben Foster ended up retiring after 4 games when we'd shipped 20 goals. So I think Phil Parkinson's gone, let's just get in a load of defenders, let's solidify this back 5 and be hard to beat. So from that point of view, I'm quite happy.
I was going to go on to Sam, but I feel like for the interest of contrast of League One, I have to come to you, Josh, and for Northampton Town. Any long haul tours in pre-season? Any fixtures against Chelsea and Bournemouth of note for John Brady's side? Is he taking them off to Melbourne, or is he just staying within the county?
No, taking us to Brackley and taking us to Cheltenham. So pre-season's been not as great as some of the other clubs in this podcast at the moment. We lost to Norwich, but that was kind of to be expected. Lost 3-0 at home. Beat Brackley. And then we played Kings Lynn last week. I was at that game. That was a couple of first teamers in that one. We ended up drawing. The second half mostly was youth team. But I think John Brady was more experimenting with like embedding new players and formations. And we kind of played like 3 centre-backs, wing-backs, and so on. So just trying out different things. And then we finished pre-season with the defeat to Cheltenham. So not the best preparation for us, but we did lose big names from last season, particularly Mark Leonard, who has gone to Birmingham. So he'll be a big feature for them. Kieran Bowie, who looks like he's joining Hibernian. We had both of those on loan for the past 2 years, so got us out of League Two, and then propelled us to a decent finish for us last season, 14th, which we were higher before the final 3 games or so. I don't think we'll be getting that high this year, to be honest. But I think top half would be the dream for us, honestly. I can't really see it just because we've struggled to replace those two particularly. But Louis Appere also going to Stevenage, Sam Sherring going to drop in a division to go to MK Dons as well is a big loss for us. So Yeah, not the most ideal preparation going into Bristol Rovers away this weekend.
Is this more of just kind of consolidation season then? Try and do what you can stay up, given the players that you've left. In terms of the incomings, is there anyone of note, though? Do you feel like John Brady's been able to replace what has been lost?
I think he's brought in pretty well, to be fair, considering what we did lose. So against Kings Lynn, Matt Dibley-Diaz, who we've got on loan from Fulham, centre midfield, it's his kind of first team exposure. He looked really good. He assisted the first goal and played really well with Honda Mark in centre midfield. Tom Eves has come in up top, which is a good experienced signing for this league, particularly. Bringing him in from Rotherham. Jack Baldwin coming in as well from Ross County. He was their captain. Again, knows this league. Has been with quite a few teams in this league as well. So I think he has bought in quite well. And we have retained like Sam Hoskins, who for us is massive and has been for the past decade. Mitch Pinnock. I'm excited to see how Mitch Pinnock and Cameron McGeehan, who we got from Colchester, has had previous with Portsmouth and Barnsley, I believe, in this league. So how they combine and like I'm expecting to kind of get balls into Eves when he's on and Hoskins as well, quite getting them on the ground and that. But yeah, to be fair, they've been the positives this year, and actually it's going to be focused more just what we're doing off the pitch. We're putting a lot of infrastructure in around Sixfields. Got new investors and things like that. So it is more, as you say, going to be more about consolidation for us this season, I think.
Hopefully off the pitch there'll be positives and consolidation on the pitch. Johnny, let's come to you. Reading, obviously last season was a bit of a strange one with points deductions and all the turmoil around the club. I mean, go on, I'll let you try and sum it up far better than I possibly ever could. How was last season as a Reading fan?
How was the last number of seasons as a Reading fan? It's been pretty horrible. Where do you start? Like, we've had 18 points deductions over the last 3 seasons because of our clueless owner, Di Young. And I know Bolton have been through similar things and other clubs have as well. We're waiting for the new owner to come in, which is going to be Rob Coolwig, that's how you pronounce him, the ex-Wickham owner, who decided to try and buy our training ground when he was Wickham's owner. And that fell through because that's just not right. Now he's buying the club. But that's the way it works. We just need someone that needs to run the club properly. Hearing all your lovely stories about signing players and doing whatever, we haven't signed anyone this season or this summer because we're not allowed because of the restrictions until we get the new owner confirmed. But it's a horror story for how the EFL do things and how things are allowed to happen. This guy was, refused ownership of Hull, and then he's destroyed our club. It's not about being a Reading fan; it's just about being a football fan. Football has an ownership problem massively, and it keeps happening. Our women's team has been completely destroyed. Who was probably one of the front runners in women's football over the last number of years, where we were finishing top 4 or 5 in the Women's Premier League. Fran Kirby came from Reading. Larry Earps came from Reading, and now we're playing Sunday League football as a women's team, 5th tier, from being Premier League down to the Championship now to that. That's the sad decline of football that's been allowed to happen. It's horrific. There's the women's pathway academy is no longer. The men's football I can go on to, and it's kind of it's how things are done wrong. It's disgusting. On the men's side, trying to be positive, Ruben Sellers has done an amazing job. Last season we were, I think, bottom of the table in November. He tried to play a kind of brand of football that he liked, which is very narrow and 4-2-2-2. You can't play that in League One. With players that we had, we just basically chucked together a team. We can't say like, we can't sign players for money until the summer of next year. So it's basically all our youngsters that came through. Tyler Binden, who's a young lad from we signed from. He's a New Zealand kiddie. He played amazing last year. We've had Abby, who left to go to again. McIntyre and Abbey, Tom Holmes, 3 players that were sold without the football manager's knowledge to try and balance the books. It's stuff that you don't want to, Sky Sports don't want to hear about little clubs like us anymore, about the problems that are in football. But what it's done, it's galvanized our club, because you saw where we had the tennis ball stuff going on, then we had the pitch invasion back in January, where people actually stood up and listened. And the Sell Before We Die campaign's been brilliant. I'm on the board of the Supporters Trust at Reading. We've had to fight for our club to keep it going, and against a lot of horrible things that have happened. People being made redundant at Christmas. It's been a never-ending shit show. That's probably the best way of describing it. I apologise for my language, but as football fans, what it's like. It shouldn't happen to any club. But the good thing about it is what it's done is galvanised the fans with the players, with the manager and the coaching staff for the men's team. We stayed up last year comfortably in the end, despite the fact that we can't do much transfer wise. And again, this summer we're the only club in the EFL that hasn't signed a player. But what we've got is, which I told you, Phil Parkinson was one of Reading's legends as a player, and that spirit we've got as a club again, because people are running through brick walls for each other. You may not be the best players in the world, but they've got a united spirit with guys like Sam Smith, Lewis Wing, are good players. We got lucky, with recruitment last summer. Charlie Savage has come in. The youngsters that we keep producing in the academy we keep finding gold that keeps us going, and it's amazing. And we're lucky. Birmingham, we've got first game of the season. Will be a tough one. We've had a good pre-season. We beat QPR, we beat Hull. The Hull manager was moaning that it was like what do you call it? Our World Championship final. I don't know what sport you watch, but that's nothing to do with football, because we were a bit physical. And for me as a fan, it's brilliant. These guys are fighting for each other. They actually want to go out there. We've got a small squad. We're trying to punch above our weight. If we get mid-table, brilliant. All I want is our club to survive. And, we've had so much crap over the last few years that's all that matters. And if we're making people feel uncomfortable by that, good luck to them. It's a bigger issue than team. When you see we just had to sell our young goalkeeper from the women's team under 18 to Man City. She's gone. That whole future of our club. We were one of the first women's teams to play at a men's home ground in the WSL. Kelly Chambers was manager. That's the side that people don't talk about. That's a whole pathway. I've got 2 young daughters myself that I'd love to see them play for Reading women's team. That's now gone, and no one cares, to be honest. It's all about the money and everything else. But we'll fight for next season with the men's team. I think we'll do okay. We'll be fine. The new owner has his way. He's quite an arrogant and does things the way he wants them, but he knows how to do things business-wise, and we haven't had that since John Majewski. So I'm okay with that, and that's what we need. We need the club to be run properly, but it means we're losing good people behind the scenes as well, which is a sad, because it's people's livelihoods and jobs and all those kind of things that people don't get about football, which is hard. And you want the best for people, and we'll just probably win the league, not with 106 points this year, but we'll take that. I just want our club to exist. Anyway, that's enough of me ranting. Thank you.
No, it's fine. In terms of going forward, one kind of question really. You say that the takeover is kind of ongoing. Is there any timescales that have come out in terms of when that can kind of be complete, so that there can be a future to look forward to in terms of rebuilding things that have been lost?
Yeah, look, it's happening. I think it's there's an event at the Purple Turtle. If anyone knows the Purple Turtle in Reading, it's we had our away third kit designed on it last season. It's a great shirt, one of the best shirts we've ever done. There's an event there on Thursday. Knowing the way things are with Reading, we'll probably announce our new owners there with stars and stripes. It'd be like Donald Trump coming out in the Purple Turtle in Reading with his American owner going whatever. But yeah, it's happening. Like, I think, we've had a few full storms, seriously, where things were agreed and exclusivity, and then it didn't. It's been dragging on. I think that's, Dai Young is a poisonous, horrible character who wouldn't let go of things, and hasn't paid fines. The Sell Before We Die campaign went after him brilliantly, and as fan groups, what it's done is united our club as all the different fan support bases that we have. You have Sell Before We Die, we have the Elm Park Royals, we have the Tyler Stone, we have Supporters Trust at Reading, but everyone's gone basically F you and get out of our club, because football's more important about community and a club and a base. It's not about just results and winning and promotion and relegation. That's life. But when your whole community, I live over here in Ireland, but my parents and grandparents lived in Reading. I was born there. It's about a culture. It's about a community. And when the threat of that's being taken away from you, as I'm sure some of you others would know what this is like, it's horrific, because that's your go-to place on a Saturday. It's your identity as a fan. And when it's being destroyed by someone who's corrupt and wrong, and the EFL are enabling that, they're now backing things and making things happen now, but it should never have got to this point. But it will happen again until things change. And, the whole government of football, which is, is going to happen with the change of government in the UK. The whole how it's run, and so these things can't keep going on. It's happened for years. We've lost so many good clubs. Bury, you could go through them, and I'll stop talking because I'm sending people to sleep. But that's the thing. That's the reality of football. We all love our clubs, and we all want the best for them, and we all want the future of football. We've been going 152 years. But something like Sky, all their interest is, Man City have signed a new player and whatever. It took a pitch invasion from our fans to actually make people stand up and listen. People powers talk.
I feel bad going to Birmingham with their billions next, to be honest.
No, I
feel bad as well.
So it felt bad enough to give us a win on Saturday. You win the league. Is that a deal?
I tell you what, though, a lot of what Johnny was saying, obviously not to the extremities of some of the stuff that's happened at Reading, but with Blues, before Knighthead Capital came in, we were completely mismanaged for years and years. And seeing the guys that are in charge of us now on Knighthead Capital, it's so refreshing to actually have owners where you actually know who they are and they put their money where their mouth is as well. Because with some of the owners we've had in the past, say, for instance, when we were in the Premier League, Carson Young, who was our owner then, he's now in jail. BSHL, the owner there, we never even knew who he was. He went under a fake alias. He's now on the run. So it's all stuff like this where I'm sure other clubs can, attest to what I'm saying. With some of these owners, how they even get there in the first place is just ridiculous.
No, I think you're spot on. And obviously for Ryan as well with Bolton, and for Sue with Charlton, there's been ownership issues of years gone by. It's to be fair, slightly diverting, but it makes a very good point. Actually, with the amount of clubs representatives that we've got on here tonight, actually, the whole football ownership thing is just on the whole.
You've got
massive issues still in this country, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah, I mean, even going back to the 90s, with Club for a Fiver, which Steve will know at Leighton Orient, and they've had bad times over the years, and I think obviously the club at the moment with the highest sort of profile owners is obviously Wrexham with Ryan and Rob, and I think you have to give them credit where credit's due. To be fair, I mean, when they came in, I was very sceptical. I'm sure you were as well, Nath. But to be fair, they've put the money where their mouth is, and they've got whatever stick you get, they've got you up, and they've got you to this position. Now, whether they can take you up to the next position, I think will be more difficult. Do you think that they're realistic to understand sort of how difficult that is, Nath?
Oh, definitely. I think they're brilliant. We would say we've got the best owners in football because they're super likable. They're not bad guys, but they also don't have the cash to, if we somehow manage to get to the Championship, I don't think they've got the necessary funds to really compete. Where I'm looking at Birmingham now, they're building a squad I think that they believe can compete in the Championship when they get up there. And it's then not so bound by FFP, which is the Championship. It's not in League One. And we tried to do that. We built a League One squad to get to League One, which we have. And now I think, we'll give it a go, see how we get on. And if not, it wouldn't shock me if they flutter their eye. Ryan Reynolds goes to Silicon Valley, flutters his beautiful eyelashes, and some tech billionaire decides that they want to chuck us, or we just become, a consortium for Hollywood. I don't know. But they've, looking back, talking about ownership, I mean, fans saved our football club. We were hours from being wound up. Alex Hamilton had tried his very best to get ownership of the stadium, flatten the stadium, desperate to build on it, build flats on it, and build a B&Q at one point. That was the plan, to just get rid of the football club, basically. Fans intervened, famously marched through before a game against Woking, I think it was, and marched past his house and spammed him at his house, and so we can understand now. People will say, "Oh, Wrexham are these money bags, this and that," but we've also had, that day where kids were running up with their pocket money outside the ground to try and raise a six-figure sum. So, I can completely empathise with, like I say, Birmingham previously, Reading now. It's working in sports media as well. It's very tricky for these stories to get much space in the headline. It shouldn't be tricky because editorial judgment, you decide what you want to write about. But it's such a fixed agenda now with Premier League. It really does take tennis balls on a pitch and pitch invasions and all that sort of drastic things to get it out there. But anyway, League One, overall. The more I've listened to this, the more I'm thinking, the more I'm just listening to everyone, I'm thinking, can Wrexham do it? Like I'm sort of talking myself into maybe they can now, back to back, maybe. I don't know.
All right, pipe down.
Yeah, I don't know.
Obviously, Orient and Cobblers fans have had their kind of issues over the years as well. Sam, let's give you a fair say to talk about Birmingham City. And obviously, for last season, with the ownership that came in, but relegation wasn't preventable in the end, and the pre-season that you've had so far. Without saying the words Alfie May, how would you sum up the last few months being a Birmingham fan?
So, I mean, the last few months have just been so turbulent with all the stuff that's happening off the pitch, on the pitch, Knighthead Capital off the pitch. Everything they've done has been superb. The renovations of the ground, just doing a lot for the city in general. And it's really, rejuvenated the support as well, with the game against Reading being a sellout. And a lot of those games in the run, in those home games, were a sellout because the fans are really believing in what the board were trying to do. It was just unfortunate that the players on the pitch couldn't, get that form going and save us, really, because we got relegated with 50 points, which hasn't happened for, I think, a decade in the Championship. On another season, we would have stayed up comfortably. I mean, the season beforehand, we finished 16th with 3 more points. So it just goes to show how competitive the Championship was last season. Now we find ourselves in League One. Obviously, we spent a lot of money on a notable striker, which we won't name.
We can talk about it in a minute.
We'll come to it later.
Yes, yeah. Other names from other clubs like in Europe, William Williamson, aka For, the Icelandic 6'3" man from Go Ahead Eagles, who actually would have been playing in the Conference League if he would have stayed on with them. Other names as well from Northampton, Mark Leonard. Obviously, he was on loan from Brighton. Now he's joined us on a permanent deal. We bolstered our goalkeeping options as well with Peacock Farrell and Allsop. So it's decent additions to the side. It's all about now Chris Davis, the new manager, getting them all to gel together.
Don't bring
Yeah.
the goalkeeper situation up. I got that wrong yesterday, Sam. I said that Ryan Alsopper played a lot more. What did I say, Ryan? Yeah, Alsopper played a lot more than Peacock Fadland. We had a Birmingham fan on. No idea why he's watching us on a Monday night, by the way. But he said he
Just
wanted
to wind
to
you
correct.
up.
Yeah,
just to wind you up, pretty much. And it works a treat.
But he corrected. No, he didn't, because he corrected me. He factually corrected me, and I don't mind that.
Yeah, it will be Peacock Farrell starting, I think, because he's played a lot of the pre-season games for the first team.
Fair play. Obviously, going forward, I mean, I'm going to assume the ambition is top 2, or is it actually just top 1, really? But
I tell you what, for me, it's one of those situations where by hook or by crook, I feel like we've just got to get out of the league. For me, I don't care if it's a sixth place, scrappy, get promoted by that. I think the main aim for me is just to get promoted, really. With League One this season, I think from my perspective, I won't underestimate anybody, because there's a lot of Blues fans getting very carried away on Twitter because of our pre-season results, the fact that we've won all but one game, the money we spent in the transfer window. But ultimately, money doesn't guarantee success, does it? And it's all about having the right manager in place and the right players to gel together and ultimately get those results. Because I imagine in a lot of the games we'll be dominating possession. There'll be teams that are sitting back looking to soak up that pressure. And you could just see Saturday against Reading, it being like a scrappy 1-0 win to Reading from us, passing the ball around the back and giving it to one of their strikers, which I'm sure Johnny would appreciate. But it's going to be interesting to see how it all pans out. But expectations are really high.
Before we move on, Chris, I think Johnny's going to have to jump off. But thanks very much, mate, for coming on, and best of luck for the season, obviously, except for when you play Huddersfield, Lincoln, or every other team on here. But
it's been a pleasure. Sorry I had to go, as you know. It's a bit of a short visit, but I'd love to come on again and catch up with you all.
We'll definitely get you back on, mate. Thank you very much.
No worries. Take care, guys. Best luck for the season, and hopefully you'll lose on Saturday. Birmingham.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
That's Johnny Hunt, Reading FC fan. Right, I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna go for it. Steve, Sue, Sam, Alfie May, discuss. Off you go.
So Sue, why did you hold on to him for so long? Why didn't you just sell him to us? Right, we wanted him. We came in for him. Right, we've discussed. We've paid a fee.
Can't get his words out. He's been doing this for weeks, by the way, spitting feathers over.
I was so angry on the day that I heard Birmingham, and I heard like 5 hours before Birmingham before it was announced. But Birmingham, obviously, you came in, Sam. You decided to pay him quadruple the fee that he was on at Charlton, and then decided to pay him a 500,000 location fee. I mean, to be fair, you have to pay somebody to go live in Birmingham, don't you? So, yeah, I understand that.
Get one in early there, Steve, before we play the season.
I've got to, mate. I've got to. You've got to give me due, haven't you?
Fair play to you. But, with the Alfie May situation, if you want goals in League One, that's the guy you sign, isn't it? I mean, looking at the last 3 seasons he's played in League One, the amount of goals he scored is ridiculous. And looking at him in pre-season, he scored 5 goals in the games that he played. He scored 2 goals against West Brom in the most recent game. And it looks like now, with the amount of service he's going to get, it's almost guaranteed goals. It would take some sort of freak injury, wouldn't it, for him to not bag the amount of goals that a lot of people are expecting him to get. But he's 31 years of age, and he doesn't actually fit the recruitment style of what Birmingham are going for, with a lot of these younger players that are going to be here for the project for many years to come. But I feel like Alfie May is one of those transfers that we're getting in to try and just guarantee those goals in League One, because with the amount of service he's going to get, you're just hoping that he's going to get the amount of goals he's got at Charlton and Cheltenham as well.
I feel like it's the kind of signing you're making just to wind up Steve. Sue, I'll come to you though.
Yeah.
Just how good was he last season? As you said earlier on as well, in a struggling Charlton side, just how good was he?
We got our player of the year last season. He was unbelievable. And what you find with Alfie is it's not just about the goals. The effort and the work rate is unbelievable. That man will cover every inch of grass on that pitch. And he's a lovely guy. He's down to earth. I think him and Nathan, for whatever reason, didn't quite gel. And I think that was part of the reasoning. I think one of the other reasonings, was that his wife is from well, that's why we thought he was going to Huddersfield, because his wife is from Yorkshire.
Yeah.
So I think it potentially, when you look at a player like Alfie, who had played most of his career in non-league, when a team comes in with the amount of money that is offered by Birmingham, you can't say no, because he might only be playing for another 2 or 3 years. But unbelievable player you got there, Sam. I mean, we're all gutted to see him go. Not just for the player, but for the person as well. You're not going to get anyone that's going to run, like, play his heart out for the shirt. Basically, he's amazing.
As you said, Sue, like some of the sort of characteristics you pick up from him, like from his interview when he signed for the club, he just does seem like a really genuine guy, doesn't he? Because I've done a bit of research into him, his story, you know, the fact that he started out, I think it was working with his brother or something, and then he's just gone through the leagues, hasn't he, right up from non-league football to where he is now. And it's good to see and hear about his style and the fact that he covers every blade of grass, because last season for us, the guy that done that up front was Jay Stansfield. And a lot of the time he was just chasing lost causes. But now you'd think with better players around him, more service, and with this forward-thinking Chris Davis style of pressing from the front, trying to win the ball higher up the pitch, that would be perfect for him.
I want to ask you about the manager, Sam, because he's very unknown. He's a bit of a rookie manager. I think, you know, a lot of people have done research into him to find out about him. But were you surprised that they didn't instantly just keep hold of Gary Rowett? Obviously, it's very sad about, you know, what's happened to Mowbray, and you know, obviously he's in recovery at the moment, and that. But Rowett, you know, very, very good manager, and I was surprised that Birmingham didn't just instantly go, yeah, he's going to be our man for League One next season, really.
I think the reason why they've opted for Davis instead of Rowett is the whole thing about pressing the reset button with how we want to play football going forward for many years to come. Because I think the way that we're approaching this season, a lot of people have likened it to what Ipswich done when they brought in Kieran McKenna, someone that's worked under a lot of good managers in his time. Say, for instance, Davis has been at Tottenham with Ange Postecoglou, and also with Leicester and Celtic, Brendan Rodgers. And with McKenna, he was with Jose Mourinho at Man United and other top managers. And we're hoping that some of the stuff he's learnt there, he can carry on to this team. And it's that young manager approach where we're hoping, if things go well, he can be our manager for many years to come and get us to where the board believe we should be. And that's competing right up at the top of the Championship/Premier League.
Oh yeah, he's got good pedigree. I just wonder, you know, obviously going from number 2 to and in like at Brendan Rodgers with Celtic, you know, the coaching staff very much work together. To them being the number 1, you know, the fact that you're in League One and you've spent a lot of this money now, do you feel that there's a lot of added pressure to his position now? I mean, nearly everybody is saying that Birmingham, if they don't win the league, then it's an absolute failure.
I'd say as a Birmingham fan, this season's the season where I've seen the most expectation attached to our team, because in previous seasons gone by, when we're in the Championship, I mean, towards the end, I think the final 6-7 years we're in the Championship, we didn't finish above 16th, and it was all about staying afloat then because of our owners. But now we've got good owners, good players on the pitch, and we've got all these people predicting us to finish top of the league. As you said, I mean, anything below first in the eyes of a lot of outsiders and Birmingham fans as well would be deemed as a failure. I mean, seeing all the optimism around it's great to see, because we haven't had that for so long. But then again, it is that thing where if the first 5-10 games we don't pick up 3 points in all of the games, then all of a sudden it's going to be a meltdown. And in the ground, if we don't score goals by passing it all around and, you know, doing 20-25 passes before we score, and the fans in the crowd are going to be saying, get up to the big man, get Dukey on, all that stuff. So I feel like a lot of the fans have got to be patient, but then also there's that side of it where, right, we spent all this money, where's the results coming from? So it's going to be really interesting to see how it pans out this season.
He's hurt us over the years as Jukovic.
You had to rely on him so many times, and it was only because I honestly feel it's only because he was injured that we didn't stay up last season, because that man knew when to score goals at important times.
Well, apart from, you know, appointing Wayne Rooney and giving him 20 games, but yeah, I can agree with you. You know, so obviously
we don't talk about Rooney. That's a banned word.
You passed him on to Plymouth, so I'm sure many of you on the screen will see Plymouth next season as well. So obviously, your manager is a very divisive manager. How does he sit with Charlton fans? In the fact that he's done well at Luton, and like we said before, obviously you've lost Alfie May. I know you've brought some players in, and the club's a little bit more stable now than it has been in quite a long time. But how is the sort of the overall mood sort of going into this season, really?
I think overall the fan base are really behind Nathan. I think they like his honesty. They like the way the emotion. I mean, I think Michael Appleton had said something about any manager that responds on the touchline with any kind of emotion is faking it. And I think you watch Nathan Jones and there's no way that that emotion is being faked. So it's I think everyone's really willing him to do well as well, because of a very short history with us before, but a really sort of positive one. So he seems to be, I think the fan base has taken to him really well. We all wanted him before he even signed. I think there was rumours of him coming to us actually last summer.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it didn't happen. So I think, on the whole, everyone's really positive. I think, in terms of signings, like Nathan had said that he needed to make the squad smaller because we did have too many players. And he's sort of, there's still some that have got to leave before we can bring any more in because of our wage bill. But it sort of remains to be seen at the moment whether that's going to happen. I know he was obviously in for Bergovic, I think it was, the goalkeeper. And they couldn't agree financial terms. So I think, we're nowhere near some of the other teams in terms of our financial backing. But also, I think Nathan's one that wants to be sensible as well. He's not going to chuck silly money at people if he doesn't feel that they're going to do the job for us, because it's not just about their playing ability, it's about their attitude and their fitness. So it's going to be interesting to see how we start, because obviously we're away to Wigan on Saturday and then we've got Orient at home, which I think that's going to be a tough one, tougher than we probably realise. So, but on the whole, I think the season ticket sales were up a bit as well on last season. So I think if we have a good start,
what do you get around crowds? Season
tickets. It was difficult because, as you know, you probably have this at all of your grounds as well. They'll announce how many tickets are sold as to how many bodies are actually in the ground. So they include season ticket holders that are not actually physically there. So I think the average last season was sort of 11 to 12,000.
Yeah.
Now I think that dropped off a bit, obviously, with the poor performances and the poor results.
Yeah.
But I feel like if we have a good start, those attendances, we've got the potential of. I mean, with the last time we were promoted in the playoffs under Lee Bowyer, we were getting up to sort of 20,000. So, and we sold out our allocation at Wembley. So I think I did a show with Gordon Smart on 5 Live towards the end of last season, and it was like Sleeping Giant type discussions about sort of where we were and our journey, and it's sort of like it does a cycle. I think a lot of clubs have a cycle, don't they? Like when I started going in the late 80s, after we'd left the Valley and we didn't have a ground and we were sharing that team in Croydon, and then we went to share at West Ham as well. I think it was tough being a fan then. We were only getting like 3,000 or 4,000 people. But then when going back to the Valley, effectively, like I know, like other people have talked about, that saved us. And then we went on to go up to the Prem, and sort of everyone knows about that bit. And then the owner at the time didn't have the finances really to keep it going, and then it was just a downward spiral after that, because we had like bad owner after bad owner after bad owner.
But it's positive now. You're looking
It is
to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, it is. It's looking a lot more positive. I think we've still got our queries around the ownership a little bit because of who's fronting it.
Yeah.
But I think at the same time, the signs are good. I feel we've got one of the best managers in the whole of the Football League. And I think some of the players that he's been able to bring in because of who he is, we would not normally be able to sign. So yeah, definitely positive signs.
Good. Well, we're gonna get your top six and your bottom four a little bit later, but I just want to bring in Nathan because he's got to shoot off at 9:15. Nathan, obviously you're going to be in this pack now of, like Chris says, wanting to see how Wrexham are going to do. You talked a little bit about the fact that the squad has changed slightly, and Phil Parkinson has had to reshape things, but the positivity going into this season will just, it takes you so far, doesn't it, Matt?
Oh, momentum is a very, very difficult thing to build up. And that's why, a lot of us are saying, oh, maybe we should consolidate because we don't have a training ground and we still need to develop the stadium and do all these things that we probably need when we get to the Championship. But momentum's so precious that we shouldn't be doing that. I'm guilty of doing that, let's maybe just finish 10th and get our bearings. But then you could easily be stuck in League One. It looks like from outside. I remember a friend of mine's a big Preston fan, and he absolutely loathed football. I never knew him hate it as much as he did when Preston were in League One. It sounded like the worst experience. It just was awful. And you get stuck in there, and I kind of looked at Salford City in League Two, where they were that team with the money and they're just stuck, and now they Peter Lim and all that's gone and all that kind of thing. So momentum's a really amazing thing that we need to harness. We've been the best team at home in the last two campaigns. Best team at home in the National League, best team at home in League Two. I mean, that might not be the same again, but I think we'll be up there. The race course is packed every single week. Every away allocation will sell out, and every home attendance, they haven't been able to make any more season tickets available. It's the golden ticket to just try and get in the temporary stand now that they've extended, because it's so hard to get a ticket.
Where are things with the ground naturally? Because obviously the old COP was being renovated, I believe, and
so that's
that
demolished.
Ongoing or
so demolished, and then we were expecting spades in the ground over the summer to build this 5,500 capacity, and then they realised that they want to kind of redraw up the plans, maybe go for something a bit bigger, maybe fill out the corners. So now we've got this temporary stand that is just for the home fans, but that's going to be maybe not so temporary. That they thought it was going to be this temporary thing. It's now put a fan zone behind it. It's I don't know, not so temporary.
Sounds reminiscent of Brighton and their ground changes over the years. Oh, we're just temporarily at the Withdean, and then 6 years later still there.
Right.
That sort of thing.
Right, it'll take time. I think stadium development. I mean, things are just changing so quickly at Wrexham that they almost can't keep up. They're ordering 40,000 shirts, and then they sell like that, and they can't order more than till Christmas, and then they just don't know what they're trying to figure out. Basically, how big is it? How big is the interest going to last? And now we're in a division where I never thought I'd be so excited to go to Northampton and back to Leyton Orient, but these are games that we're going to go to and we'll probably lose, and it'll be a big meltdown from the outside of people say Wrexham should be doing a lot better. But I think, I don't know, I'll be interested to see how we stack up, because Bolton, we're going there first away game of the campaign on TV. We're going to Birmingham on the Monday night. Peterborough, teams like that who I've got really high up on my sort of predicted table. Charlton, we go to the Valley, I think in November or something like that. These are going to be tough games, and also, dare I say, Wrexham will be that team that everyone wants to beat, because it's kind of funny if you beat Wrexham, and they are the the team that Disney FC and Ryan Reynolds will be crying into his into his dressing gown, all that in Hollywood. So look, that's totally fine. I just think we're a striker or two short of really giving it a good go.
I'm so gutted that the fixture is on a Tuesday night for me. I'm absolutely gutted because I'm going to try my best to get over. I might take the afternoon off work just to come over, to be honest. But yeah, I'm a bit gutted. Just before you go, Nathan, obviously you're on the Rob and Ryan podcast, so good luck for the rest of the season. Just give us your top 6 and your bottom 4 if you can before you go.
Oh, here we go. I've got a great satisfaction to put Shrewsbury in my bottom 4. So I've got Crawley finishing rock bottom because they've had the most insane transfer strategy of just they think they're really clever. But what I will say is if they do somehow stay up, Scott Lindsay's a genius as a coach, and it wouldn't shock me if he can get another job in League One when these come, because he is really, really good at what he does. So I've got Crawley going down, I've got Cambridge going down. Not really a big believer in them. I know their fans keep chirping up in my mentions about how they've kept all their players and they're better than they were last year. Not having it. Shrewsbury, they can just go. We don't care about Shrewsbury. And then who else have I got into the bottom 4? I've actually got Mansfield. I usually one of the teams coming up will struggle. Stockport spend a lot of money. And as much as people are down on Josh's team at Northampton and Stevenage and stuff like that, they've got that League One now. So I'm not sure about Mansfield. I think they might run into more bother. So that's my bottom 4. And top 6, Birmingham winning the league, as everyone probably has. I've got Rotherham finishing 2nd, Peterborough 3rd, because I believe in Darren Ferguson, and they always seem to unearth non-league gems. Bolton finishing 4th and winning the playoffs. Charlton finishing 5th, and Huddersfield Town finishing 6th.
Wow.
Right. Look at Steve's face. He was like, you could see as you kept going down that top 6, he was like, "Where's Huddersfield? Where are they?
Are you in the playoffs?
What I mean. This is what I mean.
I can't wait to beat you twice this season.
This is what I mean, Steve. I said this to you last night, mate. People are not necessarily lucky, and there's that many teams that are going to be challenging for the top 2 and for the playoffs that Huddersfield are by no way to start.
Rotherham for me just seem a much safer pick with Steve Evans. He just knows how to get it done, and Michael Duff's good at this level, but Steve Evans is horrible. You feel ill thinking about his football, but yet he will get Rotherham right up there. He will just have Rotherham right up there. He will. And with Huddersfield, I'm looking at Michael Duff, good manager. I don't fancy Huddersfield over Bolton. And I don't know, as much as I was actually at Nathan Jones's final presser for Southampton, and I've never seen a man so disappointed that he knew he was about to get sacked. He knew that he was gone in that press conference, and I felt really bad for him. And I was actually there in his final press conference at Stoke. So, Sue better hope I don't have to do Charlton at any point. So, you know what? I just think this is a kind of good fit for him. I like Luke Berry signing. And friends of mine who are Charlton fans just seem cautiously optimistic. Whereas Huddersfield fans like Stephen, way too over the top, way too excited about this squad that I'm not a big believer in. So 6th for me.
That's fine.
Doesn't have a restraining order on you. It'll be a miracle at this rate. If you've been these last 3 conferences at Stoke,
if he sees me, if he sees me at the Valley in a working capacity, you might as well just pack his bags and it's over. Usually, I don't know what happens. I just get the unlucky Nathan Jones final game.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Have us in 6th. I'm excited for the season anyway, Nathan, and I look forward to our battles. And hopefully you'll want to come back on to do a preview before the Huddersfield Wrexham game, mate. But
definitely, Stephen. I'll see. Thanks for having me on. Really appreciate it. And like I say, very, very excited to have got Bolton ticket. Desperately trying to get a Birmingham. I'll be trying to go to all your grounds and soak it up. Back in League One for the first time in 20 years. So forgive the kind of youthful exuberance that we're back in. We've been doing Bromley, Wealdstone, Braintree Town, Havant and Waterlooville for so long that this is just great. Northampton away, bring it on. I can't wait.
As a Lincoln fan, we shared 6-7 seasons in the National League alongside Wrexham, so I feel your pain completely when it comes to going. And to I work for Rochdale now, so I've on a regular basis. So that's I'm still going to Bromley's and not Bromley, but Braintree and Tamworth to look forward to this season.
But thanks very much for coming on, Neth.
Thanks so much, and good luck to all you in the rest of the season. Take care. See you soon.
Cheers, guys. Cheers, mate.
That's Nathan from the Rob Ryan Red Wrexham podcast. That is wordy. That is wordy.
The quadruple R.
With a W in between.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
let's turn our attentions then to well, let's bring everyone in, I think, for this bit, because there's only 7 hours left. It can't be too hard to avoid talking over each other, surely. Go on then. I mean, let's start with Sam. Everyone's expecting you to be up there. Are you as confident as everyone thinks, or is there a part of you, especially what we were saying about Chris Davis earlier on, and that he's like, you look at this way: you look at Huddersfield and Michael Duff, Nathan Jones, Richie Wellens, Ian Everett, John Brady. Even I'll put Michael Scubala in actually, as thinking, you know what, he's now experienced compared to Chris Davis at Birmingham.
Because I'd say I'm confident, but there is a lot of external factors, isn't there? The fact that you said there's a lot more managers around us that have more League One know-how. I mean, you look at Rotherham, say, for instance, the amount of experience they've got in their team. Steve Evans is their manager, someone with a lot of experience in the Football League. Other teams around us. I mean, Huddersfield, like Michael Duff, he's been in League One before, isn't he? And I look at our team, and on paper, it does look a really good side. However, we thought the same thing last season going into that campaign, where we made a lot of good transfers, permanent transfers as well, because we're so used to getting players that are in their 30s over the hill, or these loan transfers where even though they're good, they'll go back to their parent clubs next season and won't return. So I feel like we've gone for that same strategy as a lot of permanent transfers, but it's just the $1 million question, isn't it, about are they going to click on the pitch? Because face value, they look like a really talented bunch, but it's about that League One know-how, because a lot of these teams are going to sit back against us, and it's all about finding them gaps, breaking this low block that the teams will operate against us, and trying to get the 3 points by being patient with our play, but also clinical at the right times.
Yeah,
I don't think realize you. Oh,
No. I think.
Yourself.
Yeah,
I was about to say that
myself as well. I want to bring Steve in really from Leyton Orient, because I think Leyton Orient's a really interesting club, particularly at League One. Obviously, you've had some successful League One campaigns way in the past as well. But like you said, with the 11th place finish, you're kind of one of them clubs that it can go either way. I know you kind of said that before, but there must be some optimism there, Steve, to sort of maybe build on the successes of last season.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a lot of optimism at the club. I think, like most people on this, I think we have got a great ownership who we're really excited about. They spend, but they spend wisely. They've invested wisely after having an awful kind of predecessor where we had the same issues that Reading has spoken about. So we've run really well. We started it off, or revamped ourselves in the conference. We've had a good couple of years. We've won 2 championships in 6 seasons. And yeah, I'd love to be sitting here in 6 months' time talking about a potential playoff push. And I think some fans think we could do that. And again, I think there'll be 1 or 2 who might surprise you. There's a couple of clubs, when people are talking about kind of the top 7, it's always the same, and the top 4 are the same. But then there's teams I've got like Blackpool, Bristol Rovers, who have made some quite shrewd signings, Exeter, who had a great run last season, Lincoln, Orient, Wigan. There's this kind of batch of 7 or 8 teams who you think might make a challenge, and I don't think. Sorry, Sue. I don't think Charlton will be up there. I've got a feeling Charlton are gonna disappoint again, and I think there's a few teams who people are looking at who might disappoint, which obviously will create a space for 2 or 3 of those teams around the middle who might push up. I think it was interesting what Nathan was saying about Rotherham. I think Rotherham are going under the radar a little bit because everyone's so focused on Birmingham and Huddersfield. I think Steve Evans walks it into 2nd place. I really do. I think Rotherham will have a fine season. They made some really, really great signings at this level. They've kind of gone under the radar for me just because of the strength of League One. I think Wrexham will do very well as well. I think Wrexham has done very shrewd business as well. But I think there'll be 2 or 3 who might surprise people. And I think Orient might be able to do that. We done our own kind of predictions of where we think our teams will finish. And I've got Orient in 12th. But it wouldn't surprise me if we finish slightly higher. But yeah, we're real optimistic. We've made some good signings. We seem to have gone from getting these experienced players now to going after players who've fallen out of the Premier League and then trying to revamp their careers, which has worked quite well. We signed Ollie O'Neill in January from Fulham, and he's a really tasty player. I think he's going to have a very strong season in League One. We signed Ethan Galbraith from Man United in the summer. He was released. Northern Ireland International. has been linked with Huddersfield, I believe. I believe Huddersfield have gone after him. And a few of the bigger League One clubs are looking at him. So we've got some real good young talent blended in with some kind of existing experience. So really optimistic. And like I said before, I think Richie Wellens has done a fantastic job. I think one day he will manage in the Championship at some capacity. Not sure that will be with Leyton Orient, but I think he ends up there due to his ambition, his honesty, his kind of likability, and he's a great tactical manager as well, which I think sometimes in League One kind of goes unnoticed. So I think we're optimistic. I'd be delighted with a top 10 finish, a playoff push possibly, but like I said earlier, Bolton, Charlton, and in Birmingham, that's a real tough 3 fixtures to start with. But then they could be great fixtures to start with. But all those teams have undergone big changes. Maybe it's a fantastic time to play them, and maybe kind of we'll take something from them and then can kind of push on from there. But I think for us, I think it won't be those games that define us. It'll be the ones like your Blackpools, your Stockports, your Exeters, your Wigans, your Readings. If you start taking points from them, then very quickly you get head of steam up. So I'm quite excited about the new season. Dan Adji last season was fantastic when he played. He was injured for a lot of the season. We signed him from Crewe last summer. Real good player, 27 years old, strong, can play left, right, or in the centre. Played great last season when we had him. He's been fully fit in pre-season, banging him in. We've re-signed Charlie Kelman on loan from QPR, a right Richie Wellens player, presses from the front. Will easily get double figures if he stays fit and stays in the team. And defensively last season, we were fantastic, to be fair. We had a real good defensive unit and we've kept most of that defence in play. So definitely optimistic, but there's so many big boys in there this season. You just think, who isn't going to make it where they need to be? Because some of those teams need to kind of fail for Orient to kind of push on and progress. But really excited about where potentially Orient could end up this season.
I've always been impressed with Richie Wellens, and I know he did very, very well at Doncaster, and he was very, very liked by the supporters, which obviously he's got a good relationship with the Leyton Orient fans, which is what you really want as a fan. You want to have that relationship with a manager, and I'm sure you're like that with Richie himself.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very honest manager. He's kind of very self-motivated and ambitious, and he comes across just like a fan, really, which is exactly what you want. When we don't play well, he calls it like it is, and since he's been at the club, he's done a great job of kind of realising how important a fan base is. He kind of called for the fans to get behind him and the team, especially at home when he first arrived, and we've responded to that really well. And he knows how to kind of G up a crowd. He knows when a crowd needs to be behind the team, when they need to sing. And there were a few self-deprecating songs when he arrived, and he kind of stopped those straight away. After his post-match conference, he was like, that doesn't help anyone, so let's all get behind the team. But yeah, great manager. I think every player who leaves Orient to go to bigger and better things, which inevitably happens, talks about how well Rishi manages from a man-to-man perspective. Great tactical manager. He's done a great job in the 2.5 years he's been at the club. Got Swindon promoted from League Two, went to Donny, didn't go so well for him, and he also went to Salford, where it didn't go so well for him. So I think, Orient was kind of, again, a bit of a redemption chance for him. I think he's taken that redemption chance really well, and he's flourished underneath it. I think if he has another good season or two at Orient, I think it's only a matter of time before a bigger League One club or maybe a smaller Championship club look at him as a good alternative and go, do you know what, this guy is still fairly young, fairly successful, and plays a good brand of football. One thing Orient don't do, they don't lump it up the pitch. They pass, and if they can't find the right move forward, they go side to side, which might not be the best brand of football at times when you're not going forward. But he keeps possession, and it's all about keeping possession and movement. And again, his forwards, his number 9s might not get 20 goals a season, I guess, like Alfie May earlier, they'll work as hard as what they can for the team. And if they don't work, ultimately, they're not in for the next game. So no place is guaranteed. And I think as a player, you've always got to prove yourself to the manager. And it's good when players don't become too complacent. And it's not many players at Orient who have done that under Richie's stewardship. And when they have done that, they've been out of the team straight after. So great manager. No doubt in my eyes, he manages at a high level. But I think we all want to enjoy him while he's here.
He sounds like the perfect replacement for Chris Davis when it falls apart at Birmingham.
Obviously, Steve, do you want to give us your top 6 and bottom 4? Realise as well you're going to have to shoot off in a couple of minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I didn't want to go with Birmingham because I think everyone's going to say Birmingham to win it, but I think Birmingham just have got too much going on. I think Alfie May is almost the final piece in that puzzle, to be honest. I've got Rotherham second. I've got Huddersfield, Bolton, Wrexham and Peterborough as the playoff contenders. And then just outside of that, Charlton, Barnsley and Stockport, who I think will run it close, but ultimately you can only have 6. Bottom 4, I also went for Mansfield in 21st. I think Mansfield will struggle, although they made a good signing today from Newport County. And Will Evans, I think he's a good striker, will get some good goals. I've gone Shrewsbury as well, which I think most people will go for. 23rd place, I've got Burton. I think Burton should have gone down last season. Made a lot of changes again this season. I think ultimately Burton will get caught out at some point. And I think everyone's got the same team to finish in 24th, who will probably finish mid-table. But yeah, I can't see Crawley Town staying up. They've lost Orsi. They've lost all the players who took them forward. But again, the great thing about League One, you could be sitting here in 6 months' time going Crawley Town might be pushing for a playoff place. Just impossible to call. But yeah, that's my top 6 and bottom 4.
Well, we really appreciate you coming on the show tonight, Steve. Obviously, best of luck for the season. I've always liked Leyton Orient as a club. I think you've not always been well run, but you've got heart, and it's a big community down there, and the fans are really good. So, best of luck this season, mate. Except against Huddersfield, and we'd love to have you back on the show when for the Huddersfield preview. And we can discuss things more in detail, mate, if that's all right.
Absolutely. Keep up the great work, guys. Stephen, I'll see you final game of the season at the promotion party, right?
Yeah. What when we're both going up and we can celebrate together with a beer, yeah. and we put Birmingham in third. That'll be excellent.
Absolutely. Ryan, I'll see you Saturday, Stu. I'll see you a week on Saturday as well, and then Sam, see you the week after. What's
yes. Should we just all have a roundup? No, brilliant. Well, thank you very much,
Steve. See you later. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Ryan, we'll come to you next, mate. Obviously, Ian Everett. We've talked about last season's disappointment, but moving on to this season, I think. Bolton, looking at your transfer business, done some excellent business, really. And how does it feel for Bolton fans? I was there, at Wembley, and we lost to Nottingham Forest 2 seasons ago. So I understand the pain that you're going through. I suppose from my angle, when we lost to Forest, I knew we weren't going to be up there the next season. And ultimately that didn't happen. But for you guys, you're going to be up there and challenging again. And I think a lot of people have either got you in that second or third position, mate.
Yeah, we have to be. We have to be up there again. There's no question. It's last chance saloon for Everett, and I think he knows that as well. He's clearly asked for some money. The owners have given it to him, so they've given him everything he wants to try and get us out of this league. I don't want to dwell too much on the Wembley loss, but there still is that hangover at the moment. I think until we've played our first few games and hopefully got some good results, it will still be there. So we have to start well. Everett's still quite divided in the fan base. Myself, sort of was towards more the Everett outside, but the way I look at it now was sort of how it was in the Euros. What's the point in not getting behind him? And hopefully he can get us all back on side again. Yeah, it's frightening, and the pressure is still there because, like I said, we've spent money, and we sort of carry this gravitas as Bolton fans where we believe we should be higher than we actually are, and that's never going to go away, unfortunately. And I think that does add to the pressure.
Yeah,
I can testify to that. The amount of times I've driven home from Rochdale matches and I had BBC Radio Manchester on, and the amount of times you had Bolton fans in meltdown because they haven't beaten a side that they probably should have beaten on paper, and the phone-ins on BBC Radio Manchester are. I mean, I'll be honest. I often sit there chuckling because there's always 12 Bolton fans that are just kicking off, even though it doesn't matter whether they win, lose, or draw. There's Bolton fans calling for Everett to go.
Go on. Sorry. I was just going to ask, I find it really interesting when you said about the divide in the fan base. Is that purely because you lost the final, or was there already a feeling of maybe he's not the man to take us up? I find that really interesting that you say that.
Oh, it was before the final, and I think quite the brand of football that we was playing was not very attractive. We weren't good to watch, and we made games very difficult. We were very rigid, and that's why I'm quite excited about this potential change in system that he's looking at as a way of changing the game. I think a lot of teams found us very easy to play against. They just sat back and let us do our thing of labouring passes around the back. And if it didn't work, plan A, we tend to not get the result we wanted to, and that was the frustration. And people will know as well, Evert's very he speaks a lot, and sometimes he doesn't say the right things. He's got better and better as time's gone on, but that can rub fans up the wrong way, especially when results aren't going the right way. And it makes me sound really like sort of entitled, but although we were up there, what we were watching wasn't brilliant. And I think Derby fans went through that last season as well. And it doesn't necessarily reflect where we are in the table, what's actually going on at the time.
You have had a bit of a redemption story, though, because obviously with the whole ownership, and we've talked a lot about that on the show tonight, you have sort of come back from the dead, as it were, and do you think that you would have thought about being in this position a couple of years ago?
Well, we did get out of League Two nice and easy, but yeah, when we were fielding a team full of 17-year-olds at that point, and Sky Sports kindly had a countdown of our demise at the same time, along with I think it was Berry.
Yeah,
it did look pretty bleak, but we can't cling on to that anymore. Like, a lot of fans still lean into that. We nearly weren't a club anymore, but it's like, well, we're a club now, and we need to do what we're supposed to do and get the results what we're expected.
Where do you want to see the team strengthen in the transfer window that's left? Obviously, there's 4 weeks left, which I always find mad, by the way. You've played 3 games by the time it shuts. It's absolute. Birmingham might buy another 12 players by the time it shuts. It's unreal.
Yeah, especially when the Premier League loanees start coming in as well. We needed two wing backs. It looks like they're both coming in with we've had a guy who used to play for Arsenal, something like Orsi Tutu or something like that. It looks like we've signed him. It looks like that's going to be announced tomorrow. Wing back's a big one because of the way we play this sort of 5 at back, very high press. We need those to be. A lot of the players played through them. Other than that, we're pretty solid. I think we're stacked at the minute. Not many injuries. So there isn't too much to complain about. We just need that depth because there's a lot of games, injuries come, and you've got to be prepared for that, because that's, I think, where we came up short quite a lot of the time last season.
You haven't lost many either, have you? Which is always a bonus.
Well, nobody apart from anyone who's running out of contract, Cameron Jerome and Yondadi Bodvarsson, basically. But last season we lost goalkeeper Nathan Baxter and Dion Charles. And it wrecked our season because we didn't have the depth that we needed. But now we're stacked up front, got Aaron Collins. Everyone knows what he can do. So there's no excuses, really. We need to go out there and make the best of it.
So is it top 2 for you? Nothing else?
I'm not that stupid, unfortunately. So top 2, Huddersfield top.
Oh, wow.
And I think they'll just be a nightmare to play against. And another team will be a nightmare to play against was Rotherham. I'll put it second. I think Birmingham will finish 3rd. I think they'll be a comfortable 3rd. They've got the money, but I think there's a bit of adapting involved in quite a lot of changes in the team. I think when they get going, they will be brilliant, but I don't think it'll happen overnight. It's like I'm playing to everyone here because Charlton 4th, Bolton 5th, and then
Northampton 6th.
no, Barnsley 6th, unfortunately. If you want to talk about Northampton, I've got them 21st, Stevenage 22nd, Burton 23rd, and Crawley Town 24th.
Wow. You definitely don't want another playoff game with Barnsley anytime soon, do you? Really?
No, I'm sick of them. I'm sick of them.
Sick of them.
12 times in 3 years.
We played Charlton 4 times in one season once. I was
6 at Barnsley, something daft like that, 5 or 6.
It's like SPL, isn't it? Up in Scotland. But
sick of the sight of them.
No, brilliant. Well, I'm really, really glad that you've got us top, mate. Thank you very much. I'd not got us top, but I'll come on to mine a little bit later. Are you heading off, Ryan, or are you staying a little bit longer?
Yeah,
or...
I'm going to shoot, but thank you very much for having me on. I'm sure I'll see all your faces at some point throughout the season.
Yeah, it'd be great to have you back on here as well, mate, when Huddersfield play Bolton later on in the season, if that's something that you're up for.
Yeah, I think it's October, maybe September. I don't think it's that far away.
No, it's not. It's not. So thanks very much, mate, for coming on, and best of luck for the rest of the season, mate.
Yeah, thank you very much, everyone.
Cheers, Ryan. Thanks a lot, mate.
We'll come to Josh next, because Josh, you've very patiently waited to give us an update on Northampton. No, I'm going to be fair to Josh.
I can't believe that Ryan, though, the first person to put Cobblers is going down.
Right. No,
Steve, I did see your video, so you've got us. I know you've got us to go down as well.
Yeah,
somebody watched it then.
I was the one viewer.
No, we had a lot of views on that video. Josh, tell us about your feelings. Obviously, you've heard a lot of Northampton bashing tonight. Are you confident?
I mean, not as confident. I don't think as the other clubs you've had on. I think we're kind of in a similar bracket to Steve from Leyton Orient. Although like when we both came up from League Two, they were by far and away the best team in the league that year, and we came up third just behind them and Stevenage. And then last year, when Stevenage were the team out of the four of us, as well as Carlisle, that came up, it was a bit of a surprise. And I think obviously it was that and Steve Evans effectively getting the best out of his players then. But no, with it's mainly the players we've lost I was more concerned about. But the fact that we lost them fairly early on, those four I spoke about, Sean McWilliams going to Rotherham as well, is a big loss for us. But the fact we have brought in a few more players, Liam McCarron we had on trial throughout all of pre-season. He then signed a couple of days ago from Stoke, been at Leeds previously as well. He's been playing left wing back for us. And James Wilson, former Man United striker, who's been at Port Vale, a couple of other clubs, who I don't think will start for us. Scored against Kings Lynn in pre-season, but I don't think he'll start. But he'll be good to add some firepower to us this season. But yeah, no, I think as I say, if a lot can be said for consolidation, like we've got the third longest served manager in the league in John Brady, just behind Ian Evatt and Nigel Clough. So, and there's not really anyone who wants to say, "Oh, let's get him out and get someone else in." I think we've got a really good setup in terms of coaching, and no one's expecting us to pull up any trees really. So I think we'll be okay. I don't think. Hopefully, we'll go down. I don't think we'll go down. I think we'll be 18th, 19th-ish. I don't see us getting up to where we were last year, but you never know. I mean, the players we have kept might do all right for us.
I feel bad now that I've got you going down in my video. You've made me feel right guilty, Josh. Cheers. You haven't done that since uni.
How big keeping all of Sam Hoskins?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, he is Mr. Northampton for us at this moment. He's been with us a decade. If we can give him a testimonial, that'd be great. But yeah, he's. I mean, when we were at uni, Steve, we went to watch Cobblers in the Chris Wilder year that we got up from League Two, and that's when we had owner issues. Then the players weren't being paid, and we still won the league. And he was banging them in for us then with James Collins and John Marquis up top, who we had on loan as well. So we had a really good year that year. And then we obviously lost Chris Wilder then to Sheffield United, and look where we took them. So we lost Ricky Holmes to Charlton as well that year. He eventually did come back for us a couple of years later. But yeah, I think... Yeah, it's going to be a tougher season than it was last year for us.
What are your top 6 and bottom 4, Josh? Let's assume that you're not going to put Cobblers in the bottom 4.
No, I'm not. No, top 2. I've got Birmingham winning the league, as I think most people will have. I think just with the money that they've spent, they seem to be recruiting particularly well. They're not going for. I mean, they obviously have got the money to spend, but they're not going for just big names. Effectively, they've got the Icelandic guy. They've got Christoph Klar, I think it was, who knows English football from being at Southampton. And they've made really good signings despite the money that they are spending. So they're being smart about it. And I think they will win the league. I've got Bolton coming second. I think, as I say, a lot to be said for stability. I think Ian Evatt has got that within him to go again and actually want to get promotion automatically because of what happened last year in the playoffs. I've then got Rotherham third, and I just think Steve Evans and Rotherham is a really good match. I think they'll do really well. Fourth, I've got Huddersfield. I think they will get in the playoffs. Fifth, I've got Peterborough. And then sixth for me it's a hard one. It's a bit of a toss-up. I was between a few. I don't think you can rule Barnsley out, who were sixth last year. They have lost Devante Cole, though. I don't think you can necessarily either rule out a couple of teams that were up there last year, but I've gone for a little bit of a surprise package in Bristol Rovers. I think they've made some really good signings and have probably done the best business in League One this season. I know a few people have Wrexham in there. I think they will come 7th, 8th-ish. I don't think they'll quite make the playoffs. But yeah, I think we will see a surprise in the playoffs this year. So I've gone for Bristol Rovers for that.
Well, this is the
playoff
thing.
winner?
Oh, you can't say that.
I can ask him. No, I've asked him.
As much as it pains me to say it, I think Peterborough are probably due a turn of going up again.
No, they're not.
So it's going to be hard to call. It's going to be hard to call this year, but
I think you're right. I mean, for me, kind of the way I've been looking at it is I've almost got 4 teams that I think will be the top 4 in Rotherham, Birmingham, Peterborough, and Bolton. But honestly, I think there's about 8, potentially anything is while there's 6 to 10 teams that are actually will be looking at 5th and 6th place and thinking we've got a real shot of making those playoffs. I really do.
Yeah, I think we saw that last year. Stevenage weren't far off either. So, yeah, I think it will be similar in that. But as you say, I think there are a block who will be expecting to be in that top 4.
To go down?
Oh, yeah.
Going down, I've got Crawley bottom. I don't see how he can lose. I think it's 8 or 9 of their first.
Yeah,
their starting game in their playoff
9
final.
of that starting 11, isn't it?
I don't see how. I don't think one was on loan as well. I think it was Maguire who's gone to MK1s now. But I mean, if as previous have said, if Scott Lindsay keeps them up, then what a job he's done.
He should be England manager.
I had him going down from League 2 last year, so you know. So yeah, I've got them 24th. Shrewsbury 23rd as well. Burton Albion 22nd. They should have gone down last year. I think they were quite lucky to stay up. And Cambridge 21st.
No,
although said that, Gary Monk's a good manager. I don't know how you feel about him at Birmingham particularly, but yeah, he's. I think he's okay for Cambridge.
I think he's a fair.
I have a soft spot for Gary Monk, actually. Really soft spot for him. I just thought I'd mention that because he was there throughout the whole owner fiasco, and he was booted out because he had a fallout with the owners. And there's a lot of former Birmingham players that are now at Cambridge who I also have a soft spot for. A former captain, Michael Morrison, is there. Gary Gardner's joined him in the summer. Lar Taylor up front. So you've got different faces there. So I have a bit of a soft spot for Cambridge this season.
He nearly knocked out David Wagner, so I don't like him. But there we
go. Let's round up then with Sue and Sam with your 6s and 4s. So Sue, let's start with you. Your top 6, your bottom 4. What are you going for?
I'm just going to be picking random names, to be honest, because I wasn't prepared for this. And I know I did one the other day for our Charlton Live one, and I should have took a screenshot because I can't even remember what I put on that one. It's the joy of being older now. Getting old.
But Birmingham to finish bottom. That might have been on it.
You know what? Like, it's a difficult one with Birmingham because, and I put it in our chat, Ipswich tried to do the same a few seasons ago, bought loads of amazing players and just tanked. And it took them a few years to really gel that squad and sort of add and move around as they needed to then eventually get promoted. But I think I'm gonna say Birmingham to get in the playoffs. So I'm just thinking about who to finish top. I'm gonna go with sorry, drum roll.
The pressure.
Yeah, this is hard, isn't it? You know what? I might go with Bolton to finish top. Just because I feel like maybe that playoff experience will really G them on to just go for it.
To not have to suffer that again.
Yeah.
And I think as well they'll learn from that experience because they have kept the bulk of that squad together. I think second, I'm going to go with Huddersfield.
Cheers, Sue.
Again, because of the experience, the squad that they've got. Like we've said earlier, they are still a big club. So yeah, them. Third. See, I know that I'd put us to be in second in my last in my predictor for the Charlton Live one, but the more we've been chatting tonight and listening to the signings that other clubs have made, I'm going to put us to finish in third. Fourth, I'm going to go with Peterborough. Again, really experienced in and around that area of the league, like pretty much solidly up and down, up and down, up and down. I think Rotherham, as much as it pains me to say it, will definitely be up there. I cannot stand Steve Evans. He makes me feel ill, but I think he has got that experience.
Sam's getting worried. Sammy's getting worried here.
Yeah, Birmingham in sixth. I'm gonna go.
You don't have to put them in, Sue. You can pick
No,
somebody else if you like.
I think they're good. They've got too many good players to not be in or around it. I think it's just going to be how that team gel as a squad and how they get through those difficult times, especially over the Christmas period. The bottom lot. Oh God! Right. So I've said Crawley to go down. I've said Mansfield Town to go down, Shrewsbury to go down, and Stockport.
Ooh,
that's a surprise.
That is a surprise.
Okay, fair play. Sam, we'll bring you in.
Yeah, so for my predictions, top, I am going to say Birmingham because I get crucified by my fan base. If I don't put us to finish top, they'll be like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I can't believe you're saying that. So
no, they won't crucify you, surely. Blues fans won't do that.
I mean, after our pre-season games, you just open the Twitter comments, just the first one you see is like HMS Pistol League, all that stuff. So that's what a lot of the fans expect. So I'll ride the wave positivity of them. Second place, I'm going to go Bolton because I think with what happened to them last season, they've got that motivation to then go again, and I feel like they will be our closest competitors in the league. Third, I'll go Rotherham. The amount of League One know-how they've got, Steve Evans in charge. I mean, his football is not very good to watch, but it gets results. So I'll go with them in third. Huddersfield fourth, decent side, good manager. I reckon they'll be in and about the mix. Fifth place, do you know what? I think I'm actually going to go Wrexham. Like, I just think they've got this momentum, and in January they may actually spend a bit of money then if they're round about mid-table, because I reckon their owners will look at their position and go, wait, we're not used to this, so we're going to spend X amount of money in January to ensure that we have a playoff push. So I could see that happening.
Fair point. That's a very fair point.
Yeah, it's a good point now.
Because if they have that, slow start to the season or they're mid-table in January, they could just splash the cash easily, couldn't they? Because they've got the resources. And I reckon for an outsider pick, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, but I reckon 6th place Lincoln. That's what I'm going for. I think Michael Scavalla is a really top manager, and I think he's going to have an excellent coaching career ahead of him. I mean, the momentum you guys finished with last season, the amount of wins you got, and emphatic wins as well, and the style of football played, I'm thinking big things for Lincoln next season, because with Peterborough, obviously they've unearthed some brilliant gems in times gone by, but it may be that they're on the edge of the playoffs this season. And no, sorry, you go for it, Steve.
No, I was just going to say that I also have Lincoln in mind. I think you make a fair point that about Peterborough. I just feel, and I don't know what about you, Sam, but they've lost a couple of the gems that they have unearthed, and they have brought in some good players, but it's so difficult to keep going in that style.
See, it's interesting.
Exactly.
I've gone Peterborough for second because, some of the players, to be fair, so they've signed Young, but Kean Hayes was on loan at Rochdale last season, so I saw a lot of him. Obviously, they've signed George Nevitt, young centre half from Rochdale as well. They've got, but they've also signed to be fair, they've done this for a long time, haven't they? Picking up gems from non-league football in particular. They've done it again with Chris Clark. He's a fantastic player. So I actually think, yes, they've lost the likes of Ronnie Edwards and one or two at the back. I think it might be 3 of the back 4 from last season. But I can't remember his name now. It's gone. But they've signed a Swedish centre half from Degerfors who's looks like he'll be a really good addition. So I've gone for Rotherham to win it. Sorry, Sam. Birmingham, Peterborough to be second, Birmingham third, Bolton, Blackpool. And I'll be honest, Steve, I'm torn as to who to disappoint, you or me. I'll be kind and I'll put Wrexham.
No, you don't need to be.
I'll be nice to Nathan instead and put Wrexham 6th. With both of us to miss out on the playoffs.
That's fine, but you know nothing about football, so. And I'll quickly do my. Oh, did you do bottom, Sam? I don't know.
No.
Go on then.
So bottom 4, I'd say run through it quickly. Crawley bottom, same as everybody else. Burton 23rd, Shrewsbury 22nd, and for an outsider pick for relegation, I'm actually going to go Exeter.
Ooh,
nice. Yeah.
See, if I was to go for an outsider pick for relegation, I mean, I've gone with the same Crawley bottom, Burton because of the amount of turnover they've had. I'll be honest, I'm struggling with the bottom 2. I feel like there's half a dozen teams that I could possibly make a case for in that. But Stevenage, I find myself torn with someone like Stevenage because they've signed pretty well on paper, but I'm not sure about Alex Revel as manager. I'm just like, I'm not sure. There's always going to be somebody that's going to underachieve. So, I mean, the same way that Exeter, I think, are a little bit of a surprising pick to probably quite a lot of people from you there, Sam.
The quick touch on Stevenage, actually, because I know a bit about them. I worked with them during the COVID season, which was the 2020-21, done like a year's internship there with my university, and I was like close to the club then. And after each game, I'd be speaking to Alex Ravel, and he's someone that comes across as kind of a student of the game. He shadows Steve Evans at Stevenage and was also manager, as I say, 2020-21, and now he's back as the man in charge. So he's got a lot more experience this time around. And they've just signed Charlie Good, which is a decent signing, a good signing, should I say, for this level. And I really hope for his sake and for the club's sake that they do stay up, but they could be in trouble for the drop because Steve Evans was such an influential figure in not only getting them to League One, but having them as contenders as well, like up there.
Well, before I give my top 6 and bottom 4, we're just going to say bye to Sue. Thanks very much, Sue, for coming on.
You've stayed awake 2 hours.
I know. Sorry, just work. I'm so tired. But it's been really enjoyable. I'm happy to come back on again if you ever are stuck for.
We'll definitely get
trying to get a Charlton fan on.
We'll definitely get you back on for the Huddersfield preview, Sue, and just from my heart alone, thank you for your positive comments about the club, and proving Chris and the rest of the
No.
West Yorkshire football boys wrong. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks all. Take care.
See you later.
Cheers, Steve. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, my top 6, Chris. I'll go for it. Yeah, I've got
Yeah, go for
Birmingham and the Billions to win the league. If they don't, then Sam, there's something wrong. Huddersfield to come second because I've got to back my own boys, haven't I? Bolton third, another failed playoff attempt. Sorry, Ryan. Yeah. Rotherham to come fourth because it's Steve Evans. Peterborough, unfortunately, fifth, although I hope that they lose 5-0 in the playoffs. And sixth, I've got Lincoln because I thought it'd be nice to you, Chris, but it could be
Thank you, Steve.
anybody between Charlton, Barnsley, Wigan, and Blackpool for me. I don't think Wrexham will be in there, I'll be honest. I agree with Sam's point, by the way. He makes an excellent point about the fact that they could just pay for anybody realistically in January if they're mid-table and they want to have a tilt. But I haven't got them in there. And then my bottom 4, Stevenage. Cambridge, because it's Gary Monk. Northampton. I'm really sorry, Josh, but you already knew anyway, pal. Northampton to finish third bottom. Shrewsbury second bottom because apparently nobody likes Shrewsbury, and Crawley because I think we've all made the point that it's just an absolute madness that they've sold their entire playoff team. So that's my top 6 and bottom 4.
Shrewsbury, I think, obviously have been in pretty much everyone's bottom 4s, but I mean, I might be wrong, but I'm fairly sure I remember over the course of this summer flicking through Twitter and seeing Shrewsbury have signed so-and-so and thinking, that's not a bad signing. And it's happened a couple of times. I'm sure their squad's not quite as bad as I thought it was, but everybody else is certainly tipping Shrews to go down.
Yeah, they're not in a popular state at the moment. One team that we just need to touch on quickly, Chris, before we wrap up, your very own Lincoln City. We've not really mentioned them. Positive with Scabula to I know Sam pronounced it properly earlier.
Yeah, I was going to say take lessons from Sam. I've been knocking him for his pronunciation in the prediction video that he did. He was how many U's did you want to put into Scabala?
Right, okay.
Anyway, yeah. On the whole, look, last season, if you'd have asked me in January, are we going to have a race for the playoffs? I'd have said this very stern no. But the second half season form was bloody terrific, to be honest. And the manner, as Sam said, of the manner in which we were beating some teams, like scoring 5 away at Barnsley, for example, and we did it against a couple of the teams as well in a good run of form. We've lost, obviously, last Sorensen to you guys, but I'm not too worried about that anymore. I was at the time, as you well know, but I think we've recruited really well. We've replaced him with Tom Hamer from Burton Albion, who's a more than capable replacement on the right-hand side of defence. We're either right back in a 4 or right wing back in a 5. We've got possibly the best front 2 on names alone in Rob Street and Ben House. So everyone's calling the madness chant Ben House in the middle with Rob Street. It's better when I'm not.
That's definitely a pun that Josh would have come up with at uni, 100%. Like definitely, no doubt about it.
But on the whole, you know what? I'm cautiously optimistic. Although I did say last night that I'm kind of expecting Lincoln. When I start looking at all the other teams that are in this playoff hunt and thinking actually there's a very realistic chance Lincoln could finish 10th, 11th, 12th sort of thing. But actually, if we can find the form and Michael can get it gelling the way that the second half of the season did, we might actually have a reasonable crack at making the playoffs. It's just I'm really bipolar on this because it's so hard to call. I think League One, as we said right at the start of this nearly 2-hour stream, is just extremely competitive. Like we nobody's really talked about Stockport, but I genuinely think they've got a fair chance when you look at the recruitment that they've done of making the playoffs as well. And yeah, look, what will be. I'm kind of resigned to whatever happens already, and we haven't even kicked off the season yet.
No.
As regards Lincoln.
It's been a fabulous stream. Really enjoyed it. Thanks, Josh and Sam, for being the last two on.
You've done
standing, yeah.
You've done magnificent to stay up for this long, and no, I really appreciate all those guests, don't we, Chris? You know, the fact that we've got so many people on from so many clubs, and it'd be great to get you. Obviously, Sam, you were on last season, but it'd be great to get you on before the head-to-head, and Josh, you the same. You know, before the. I think we're going to try and hopefully meet up for the Town Northampton game.
Yeah, we're fairly early on in the season. We're mid-September, so
might be good weather when we
The
meet
big
up
thing for
there.
you, Sam, as to whether Steve wants you to come back on, is whether you start stealing any more transfers from under Huddersfield's nose.
Yeah, no more of that.
If you
go
carry on
after-
doing that, he'll
No.
not be having you back on.
Go after Joe
And I-
Taylor at your peril, my friend.
Yeah. No, but for me, though, it's actually just been like really nice to hear about other teams in League One, because a lot of these teams we haven't faced in a long time, and just to know about what everything looks like in League One and personnel to look out for and everything, it's actually been like really good to listen to what everybody has to say.
To be fair, Sam, the worst thing about being in League One, I tell you now, and I bet you'll agree with this, is being in the Fisherman Friends Trophy or whatever it is, where you.
Oh, it's the well. Last time we were in League One, it was called the Auto Windscreens Trophy.
Yeah,
and we won it that year.
That must have been
so
back in the early 90s then?
it was
1992?
1995. Yeah, so the last time we were in League One was 30 odd years ago. So it's going to be interesting.
We lost it the season before that, Sam, against Swansea in the final.
And we were crown champions on the final day at Huddersfield.
We know that. We know that.
Steve Claridge.
Shut up, Sam. No, I'm not
to be fair, we won the Checker Trade Trophy in 2018. It's a good day out. This is the thing with that competition, it gets so much stick and mocked to holy hell. But actually, it's when you get if you can get yourself to the final, it's actually a bloody good day out.
Well, clubs like
actually, what is it now?
Northampton, it
It's
gives them chance for silverware, doesn't it?
I think we've only ever got as far as the regional quarterfinal, and we've been in it years. So yeah, it'd be great for us to go far in that. That'd be a successful season.
Probably one of the founding members of that cup.
Who's in your group, Sam?
So it is Walsall, Shrewsbury, and Fulham under 21s.
Right, because that's not random, is it? Fulham under 21. It's just League One, isn't it? Brilliant, fantastic.
To be fair, it is kept. They generally do quite a good job of keeping it fairly close, so that the ones that actually do make the effort to go don't have to go too far usually. And then obviously the under 21s, I find that that's still a divisive thing now, even after all these years of it being a thing, having the under 21 sides in the competition.
Yeah, well, it's funny actually, because I think Notts County and Nottingham Forest under 21s are in different regions, which is weird to me.
That is weird.
Yeah, we've got Notts County in our group this year.
I just love the FA and how they work. Anyway, that's a whole new conversation. We won't get into
podcast, that is.
Yeah, Josh, Sam, we'll get you back on if you're happy to do so later in the season. Best of luck with your teams, except for when you play Huddersfield. Thanks very much for coming on.
Cheers, thank you.
Cheers, lads. Thanks very much.
Cheers. Well, Chris, that's it.
We've managed to get through this to the end.
We've done it. It wasn't as chaotic as you were panicking about.
I've been dreading this for a good few days, to be fair, because we left the planning to you, and that can sometimes be a little bit risky, mate.
But we've got. Have we not done well? We've done.
We have. We've got through it. What I should have done is made a note of everyone's top six and actually tried to compile what the average of all our guests thought it would be. But I haven't done that. So I'm not Lewis, so I'm not making notes of all the stats and what people have been saying. But one thing for sure is I think it's going to be a bloody interesting season. It's going to be a long season, and we'll see you just outside the playoffs, Steve.
Yep, lovely. See you during the season, mate.
We will.
By the way, thanks everybody for watching.
Yes.
Everybody who's watched over the last 2 hours, we've had unbelievable live viewership for this stream. Thanks for all the teams viewing, and thanks for all the guests from every team. Well, not every team, but a large proportion across the country. Please do give the channel a like, subscribe. Please follow us on social media, on Twitter or X or whatever it's called these days, at W Yorks Football.
We're only, I think, 20 followers away from 1,000 on X.
Yeah, 20 followers away from that figure. So give us a follow there. Go follow us on Facebook as well. But we are on YouTube, so please do give this video a like and a share. And thanks for everybody for commenting.
Absolutely, yeah. Thanks for tuning in, and for myself and Steve. I know Jay and Brownie will be back with Leeds United content, a bit of a championship preview on Thursday night as well. And we'll be back on Monday night with our regular West Yorkshire Football Show round table. After, Steve, the first games of the season will have taken place. Who'd have thought it'd be here already, eh?
Yep, up the town.
Take care. Thanks for watching.